I drive for a delivery app. I shouldn't have taken that order. I've delivered over 4,000 orders in the last 2 years. I remember almost none of their addresses. I remember every single detail about order number 4001 because it's the only one where the address didn't just lead me to a house. It led me to someone who already knew my name. I've been driving for a delivery app for a little over 2 years now. Nights mostly. The tips are better, the traffic's lighter, and I liked the quiet of it. Drop off food, get a notification, drive somewhere new, repeat. You stop really looking at the addresses after a while. They're just pins on a map. It was a Tuesday. Slow night, which meant I'd taken almost anything that came through, even the low-paying orders I'd normally skip, around 11:40 p.m. A new order pinged, $12 tip, unusually high for a single bag of food. The pickup was a small Thai place I'd been to a dozen times. The drop-off was a house about 15 minutes out, in a neighborhood I didn't recognize, which was strange, because I thought I knew every neighborhood in a 20-minute radius by now. I took the order without thinking twice. Big tip, slow night. That's the whole calculation you make in this job. I should have looked closer at the drop-off notes. They just said, leave it by the second door, don't knock. He already knows you're coming. I remember reading that line in the parking lot of the restaurant and feeling something small and cold move through my chest. I told myself it was just an oddly worded instruction. People write weird things in delivery notes all the time. I wish I'd trusted that feeling instead of talking myself out of it. The GPS took me down roads that got progressively narrower and darker, until the streetlights stopped entirely about half a mile before the destination. The house itself was set back from the road, no other homes visible either side, which, now that I think about it, should have been the first real warning. Delivery apps don't usually route you to houses this isolated unless something's wrong with the map data. I remember sitting in my car outside the house for almost a full minute before getting out. Every light in the house was off except for a faint glow from somewhere deep inside. Not a normal room light, more like the flicker of a screen or a lamp with no shade. I walked up with the bag, and that's when I noticed the house had 2 front doors. Not one door with a screen door in front of it, 2 completely separate doors, side by side, both painted the same faded green. Both look original and equally old. The note said, leave it by the second door. I didn't know which one was first and which was second. I stood there for a moment, genuinely unsure, and against every instinct I had, I knocked softly on the door on the left to ask. Nobody answered, but I heard something shift behind the right-hand door. Slow, deliberate, like someone had been standing right against it, waiting, and had just taken a single step back. I set the bag down by the right-hand door, the one I hadn't knocked on, since that felt like the safer interpretation of second. I turned to leave immediately. I didn't want to be standing there a second longer than necessary. That's when my phone buzzed with a new notification. Not from the delivery app. A text message from a number that wasn't saved in my phone. It said, wrong door. Try again. I froze in the driveway. I hadn't given anyone my number. The app doesn't share driver numbers with customers. It routes everything through an anonymized system specifically so this can't happen. I looked back at the house. The porch light, which had been off when I arrived, was now on, and through the small window beside the door, I could see a shape standing just behind the glass, not moving, facing directly toward me. I didn't check which door was right. I got in my car, and I left the bag exactly where it was. I didn't care about the $12 tip anymore. As I pulled out of the driveway, I looked back one more time. I don't know why, I just did. And both porch lights were on now. Both doors. And the shape I'd seen in the window was gone. I didn't report the order as delivered right away. I sat in a gas station parking lot about 10 minutes away, hands still shaking a little, trying to convince myself I'd overreacted to a customer with a weird sense of humor. Then my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This one said, you have a nice car for someone who does this job. Drive safe tonight. I want to be honest with you. I have never, in 2 years of driving, felt fear like that. Not because of what the message said exactly, but because of how specific it was. I drive a car that doesn't stand out. Nobody comments on it. This person had seen it and wanted me to know they'd seen it, closely enough to have an opinion about it. I called the delivery app support line immediately. They confirmed something that made my stomach drop even further. The order had already been marked as delivered and closed out on their end, roughly 90 seconds before I even left the driveway, which meant either their system glitched badly or someone inside that house had access to information about my delivery status in real time, faster than the app itself should allow. I drove straight home. I didn't take another order that night, or the next night either. I looked up the address a few days later, once I'd worked up the nerve. Public records showed no active listing, no ownership history past a certain point. The trail on that house just stops about 15 years ago, like it fell out of every database at once. I never got another message from that number. I checked more than once, hoping there'd be some explanation. A prank, a mistake, anything mundane. The number was simply disconnected the one time I tried calling it back 3 days later. I still drive for the app. I need the income. And most nights are exactly as boring and uneventful as they always were. But I've added one rule for myself that I never had before. I don't take orders that route me somewhere I don't recognize, no matter how good the tip is. And about once a month, usually late at night, I'll get a delivery request pop up with an address I don't recognize, in a part of town the map shows as improbably isolated. I decline every one of them, but last week, for the first time, one of those declined requests sent me a follow-up notification anyway, something the app isn't supposed to be able to do once you've declined an order. It just said, maybe next time. I don't know who's sending them. I don't know how they're getting through. I just know that somewhere out there a light is probably still on behind one of those 2 doors, waiting for someone to knock on the wrong one again. If you drive for a delivery app or rideshare, tell me about the strangest order or ride you've ever gotten. I read every comment.